In recent days, something has begun to shift behind the scenes at Newcastle United that completely breaks away from the usual pattern. It is not transfer speculation, it does not involve team selection, and it is certainly not just another promise for the future. This is a strategic move, carried out quietly, that could ease internal pressures, change how the club is perceived in the Premier League, and open doors that currently seem firmly closed. The most intriguing detail is that almost no one is talking about it openly, and perhaps that is the clearest sign that something big is being prepared. This kind of atmosphere never appears by chance. It usually emerges when the club is assessing paths that could reshape not just a single season, but the entire way Newcastle positions itself within the Premier League. These are the moments when rumours begin to circulate, interpretations start to form, and every small detail becomes a topic of debate among supporters. And if you like understanding what happens beyond the quick headlines, it is worth subscribing to the channel so you do not miss any important updates. While many focus solely on the transfer market, internally the attention seems to go far beyond the current squad. There is a deeper discussion taking place, linked to structure, the future, and the long-term sustainability of the club. Newcastle know they cannot afford to take false steps, especially in an increasingly strict financial environment in England. That is why every decision is carefully analyzed, even if it gives the impression of slowness to those watching from the outside. In recent months, some criticism has emerged in the English media, questioning whether the club is really progressing as promised after the arrival of the new owners. These doubts have not gone unnoticed inside Newcastle. On the contrary, they appear to have reinforced the idea that certain answers do not need to be given with words, but with concrete actions designed to impact the club for decades, not just to satisfy short-term expectations. What was once just a silent movement begins to take shape when it is understood that the Public Investment Fund, PIF, is in talks over a multi-million-pound deal that could completely change the club's current landscape. We are talking about discussions around a figure in the region of £200 million, something capable of easing one of Newcastle's biggest headaches at the moment. This potential deal comes at an extremely sensitive time, mainly because of PSR rules which limit spending and demand financial balance. Newcastle want to move forward, they want to grow, but internally it has been made clear that this will only happen at a pace considered safe and responsible. There is no blind rush. The idea is to build something solid, avoiding risks that could compromise the club's sporting and institutional project in the future. Within this context, one of the most strategic points under discussion involves Newcastle's new training ground. The club has attracted strong interest from potential sponsors to secure the naming rights for the future facilities, including Sella, the current main shirt sponsor. This type of partnership is seen as crucial for boosting commercial revenue without directly breaching the league's financial regulations. The sale of the training ground naming rights is treated as a priority by the board. Before leaving the club for Juventus, former commercial director Peter Silverstone held talks with several companies interested in the current Benton site. Among those proposals, Chelsea was one of the most advanced, but an agreement was not finalized during 2023, largely due to strategic considerations and asset valuation. Silverstone was even criticized by sections of the fan base for not securing such a sponsorship, but information suggests he turned down some offers because he did not believe they were advantageous in the long term. The thinking was clear: better to wait for the right partner than to sign a deal that does not reflect Newcastle's true growth potential. This conservative stance helps explain why the current negotiations are being handled with such care. According to information from Chronicle Live, published on Tuesday night, Newcastle have also made progress in negotiations for land in Woolsington, although the purchase has not yet been officially completed. It is believed the site belongs to Sir John Hall, a historic figure at the club, and that he could play an important role in this new chapter of the Magpies' history. The board are reportedly finalizing the details of this deal before making any public announcement, reinforcing the strategy of working quietly. In fact, it is believed Newcastle had been planning this new training ground for weeks before the information became public. Nothing has been rushed. Everything points to meticulous planning, aligned with the long-term vision defended by PIF since the club's takeover. For those who questioned Newcastle's ambition, this move can be seen as a direct response. Heavy investment in infrastructure is a clear way of showing commitment to the future, even if it does not generate immediate headlines like a major signing. It represents a shift in mentality that could make Newcastle an even more attractive club for players, coaching staff and sponsors. Chief Executive David Hopkinson has been a central figure in this process since taking up his role. A new training ground has always been at the top of his priority list. He has been helping to drive the project internally, and the expectation is that construction will begin shortly after the land purchase is completed. If you want to follow every step of this transformation, now is the time to subscribe to the channel. A sponsorship deal linked to this project would have a direct impact on the club's commercial revenues, which have already grown by around 90% in the latest financial accounts. This increase is seen as essential in addressing PSR-related concerns, allowing Newcastle to remain competitive with their direct rivals in the Premier League without exceeding the limits set by the regulations. Eddie Howe, in recent interviews, has been honest when speaking about the subject. He stated that he does not expect to still be at the club when the new training ground and a potential new stadium are completed. Even so, he made it clear how strongly he believes in the project. For him, the most important thing is ensuring these structures exist for future generations of Newcastle United players and supporters. Howe emphasized that decisions of this magnitude must be taken with extreme care. According to the head coach, if more time is needed to ensure everything is done properly, then that time must be respected. This philosophy appears to be fully aligned with the club's current approach, which prefers steady but secure progress, avoiding mistakes that can be costly in modern football. It is worth remembering that Newcastle have already invested more than £15 million in the current Benton facilities. Even so, they still lag behind training centres at clubs such as Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal. The expectation is that PIF will invest over £200 million to make the new complex a reality, placing the club on a completely different structural level within English football. This type of investment is not merely symbolic. Eddie Howe himself has already cited a new training ground as a key factor in attracting top-level players in the future. In an increasingly competitive market, details such as infrastructure, technology, and the quality of the working environment can make all the difference when convincing a player to choose Newcastle. Despite initial doubts about the progress of these projects following the 2021 takeover, Chronicle Live has reported that internally Newcastle view everything as part of a gradual process. There is no stagnation, but rather a plan being executed step by step. In addition, a project concerning the future of St. James Park is also expected to be presented soon, following the same careful logic. In the end, the potential £200 million deal goes far beyond solving immediate PSR concerns. It represents a fundamental piece in a much larger puzzle involving sustainable growth, competitiveness, and identity. Newcastle appear determined to build something lasting, even if that requires patience from supporters right now. If you want to continue following every backstage detail, every quiet move, and every decision that could shape the future of Newcastle United, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, everything is analyzed with calm, context, and reliable information, always based on sources like Chronicle Live, so you stay informed about what truly matters for the present and future of the Magpies.